I had no idea what I was getting into. When I entered the world frequented by C&C Investigations and Babs Melton, curator of Hupp's Hill Haunted Battlefield. Ghost hunters are open to experiences most of us are not. However, I was curious about the paranormal and so launched into the project. During the course of penetrating the ghost hunter's mindset, I discovered, and I think Babs will back me up on this, that the entities out there, whatever or whoever they are aware of our presence and are attracted to us if they sense we are open to the possibility they might exist. Most extraordinary was the entity which uniquely revealed itself during a videotaping for another film project in simultaneous post-production during those same months in 2007. I will return at the end of this film, show you the clip, and you can decide for yourself. Meanwhile, enjoy the film I call Ripped from Life.
I missed the farm. I missed my dog. Old Yeller, yeah.
Anybody here with us tonight? Anybody ever hear of General Stonewall Jackson?
I'm Babs Melton. I'm the director of Hupp's Hill Battlefield Park, which includes the Stonewall Jackson Museum and Crystal Caverns. As the director, of course, I just basically oversee everything. It's a really great job to have because this is such a great place. Very historically significant hill. We took part in 9 battles during the Civil War, Jackson's 6 battles of the 1862 Valley Campaign. The hill was also used extensively during the 1864 campaign, which is also called the Cedar Creek Campaign. As part of that campaign, we had our own little battle here, the Battle of Hupp's Hill. It was actually in just those days leading up to the Battle of Cedar Creek. Cedar Creek, of course, shut down the valley in the Civil War. Sheridan said that he was going to fix it to where a crow flying across the valley wouldn't be able to provision itself, and he did a pretty darn good job. This is October 13th, 1864, and it becomes a very short but sharp little fight. In just a matter of 15 or so minutes, there were 310 casualties. My own personal belief is that if somebody dies suddenly and violently, their spirit's kind of ripped out of their body, and sometimes they don't even know that they're dead. They'll continue doing the things that they did when they were alive, possibly drilling, continuing to scout out enemy positions, and so on. Our cave's history goes back to prehistoric times with pre-Columbian Indians, and different people have spotted Indians in our cave. We have a rich colonial history. We've had appearances of some colonial-looking people. I can't discount any of these things. For a while, a lot of people were seeing things in my cave that I didn't see. And I just blew it off as, well, I'm not especially sensitive. And I just sort of relaxed and didn't worry about it. And then everybody else was having the fun. They were spotting Civil War soldiers sitting on rocks in caves, and they were hearing military band music playing in the cave. And I was blissfully ignorant of all that. Until one day, I was working here in the museum late at night. And I had the alarm set and, all the doors locked and everything. And I am positive I am the only person in here until I started hearing a bunch of tapping. And then somebody started walking in the attic. And they walked the length of the attic, which of course is impossible to do because we don't have a floor up through the length of the attic. Well, I was, of course, highly impressed with that. I said, well, I can't see them, but I can obviously hear them. I did turn around, and behind me there is an alarm keypad, and we've got motion detectors all over the museum. 2 up in the attic, and none of the sensors changed, meaning that if I had somebody substantial with a body moving from one end to the other, they would have set off one or both of those motion sensors. But I'm kind of into this project I'm working on. I go back to my computer keyboard, and I'm just typing and typing and typing, because really, remember, I can't see anything, right? And then somebody touched me. I had an index finger. You know how it feels when somebody presses you with their index finger on this left shoulder. Now, the way my desk is positioned, they had to have been standing inside a counter to have gotten that angle to press me on my shoulder with their index finger. You could feel movement of not only the electricity, but also the coldness of that finger, starting in my shoulder and then slowly radiating down until it reached the tips of my fingers and my toes. Well, I, at this point, was a little concerned. I said, all bets are off. Maybe I can see them. I can hear them. I can feel them. Maybe I can see them. If I turn around right now, maybe I'll see one of those guys. Do I want to do that? Nah. So I just packed up my papers and just arranged my desk so that I could come in tomorrow, and without looking at anything, I went to the keypad, set the alarm to leave the building, locked the door, and left. Our battle was October 13th, 1864. 310 men killed, wounded, and missing. What we do is we decorate our outside. We put out 310 luminaries, and we have a walking path already for our little, tour outside. And we invite as many reenactors as will come in to put on different little scenarios lasting about 3 minutes apart. And what you do is you take a group of people through from one scenario to the other, moving from one to the other about every 3 minutes until you walk our interpretive guided trail. Well, I was the only tour guide that night because I was the only person who didn't have Civil War clothes on. Everybody else with Civil War clothes on was putting on the show, and I was just going to lead the tours around. On the very first tour of the night, and I know what every scenario is going to be, I have prepared small talk to make as we're walking in between each scenario, pertinent little Civil War facts and so on. I know that my first stop is going to be at the Drummer Boys. We had 2 young fellas in Civil War garb who, by the way, weren't very good with the roll on the drum. And as you turn this little corner in the walking trail, you would see them drumming. Well, you look at them, and there's 2 of them. And you look again, and there's 3. And you blink again, and there's 2. And you blink again, and there's 3. And you notice the 3rd one is much more proficient on the drum. And if you look very closely, while he's fairly substantial, you can see light through him. Well, I said, okay, now I know I can see ghosts. And of course, my heart is going thud. It kind of fell down into my toes. And I said, okay, be professional, keep it together. Don't show everybody on your tour that you're all upset. Just keep going, act like you didn't see anything. And we move along the trail, and of course I'm looking extra hard for things. And we get challenged by a picket who wants to see our safe conduct papers, and we go through the whole thing. And then of course by the end of the tour, I'm just dying to find out if anybody else saw this. So at the end of my tour, I said, okay, now I'm going to give y'all a little test. Let's see what you remember. And I asked them a couple of innocuous questions about the different scenarios that they had viewed. And then I said, now the soldier who challenged us for our safe conduct papers and our military passes, was he Confederate or was he Federal? And one of the ladies in my group said, well, which one? The one that actually talked to us was Confederate, but the one standing behind him was Federal. And of course my jaw dropped and I said, damn, missed that one. And then I got to the one I really wanted to ask. I said, last question in your test. I said, how many drummer boys did we have? And that same woman said, you had 2 with bodies and you had this other one that kept blinking in and out. Well, I felt much better. I realized that if I was crazy, I wasn't the only one crazy.
I'm Jacob Bain. We're at the battlefield of Hupp. I play a private, Company F, and this is my ghost story. Earlier one night, we were sitting together and we were just talking, and Penny started. We were talking about the drummer boy's grave, where he was buried, and how we'd find him and stuff like that. And I started doing this.
Like drumming?
Yeah, drumming. And then Penny said stop. I kept on doing it, which I shouldn't have. So, but later that night, about 12 o'clock, a blue orb, or a light grayish blue orb, appeared under my cot. I was half asleep, so I looked underneath the cot and then I tried to shoo it away, but it wouldn't go away. So it just wouldn't go away. And it didn't scare me, but it woke me up pretty quick. But
And what did you think the bluish orb was? I mean, what was it? Do you have any ideas?
the spirit,
Whom?
the drum boy,
And why do you think that?
because Pretty said I shouldn't be doing that. I offended him.
So he came to visit you in the night,
Yeah,
and then he left?
about half an hour he left. There was a guy sitting right there on at the fire, and he seen the blue orb leave the tent. He seen it leave, so there was confirmation about on the what happened.
And how long ago did this happen?
A year ago?
About a year ago.
Year ago today, almost.
Yeah, a year ago today.
Word got around town that there were interesting things happening at Hupp's Hill. And 2 weeks later, when we had our haunted cave tours, the roof almost blew off. The place was jumping. When we have our haunted cave tours for Crystal Caverns, it's not your no-holds-barred carnival room type thing. What we do is we don't have any electric lights on, and we've got several hundred candles lit, and we take people on a nice sedate tour of the candlelit cave. It's beautiful. And we tell them traditional stories of Shenandoah Valley hauntings. That night, that's not all that went on. Now, we pull a few gags along the way, you understand. One gag, for example, was one of my good friends, dressed all in black, heavily veiled, was sitting in a nice little Queen Anne chair right behind one of the museum mannequins that's all laid out like a dead body. We have it draped with sheets, and she's just a boo-hooing. Now, it's really dark around her, but we have a little table with a single candle on it. The guide is supposed to come up to this position and is supposed to be talking about the dead and wounded of the Civil War and the immense casualty rates and how so many, widows were left after the war. And my friend, who's just been boo-hooing audibly, picks up her face and she's got a skeleton mask on. That's the gag. So the kind of stuff we were doing was fairly sedate, except on one particular tour. My friend told me, and the tour guide told me, that they had somebody in their group that was a little maybe disappointed that we weren't just a little bit crazier with our haunted tours. They wanted it to be a little scarier. And they were too sophisticated to join into more of a family show. So as the guide is talking about the dead and wounded, this obnoxious visitor says, "Who cares about the Civil War? That was like 500 years ago. And, we don't believe any of this stuff about, Civil War ghosts and all that." Well, my friend told me she was absolutely shocked. And she just sort of stared. Of course, nobody could see her stare because she's behind the mask anyway. And then she said the most unbelievable stuff happened. She said, contrary to all the laws of gravity, things started happening. First, the candlestick flew horizontally and dropped. Then the table turned over. In other words, it wasn't a table turning over and knocking a candlestick over. The candlestick flew 4 feet and then dropped. Then the table turned over. Then the bench that the mannequin was on turned over, and the mannequin spills to the cave floor. And my friend is like, ah! She finally said, "I don't feel the way he does." She said, "I think that our dead and wounded of all wars need to be respected, and the Civil War is very important to our heritage." Then there were other things that happened that night. We had a girl that was supposed to come out of our lowest room. We had a tape recorder on that would play some Indian war whoops, and she would come running out of this room with a bloody tomahawk in her head. And she would scream, and then she would move on past. And of course, the excitement is that somebody coming out of a room you haven't even gotten into yet, that's going to be kind of spooky. But on the last tour that she did, because that scenario shut down very quickly, she said that the tape recorder kept turning on and off and on and off, and she wasn't touching the button, and it was going on and off. And she finally just got really nervous. She looked in between 2 candles, and she could see something moving between 2 candles. And with the combination of that visual plus what she was hearing, she freaked out. So on the last tour that she did, because I didn't get her back in the cave for the rest of the night, she came out screaming like a banshee. The people in the tour remarked, "Boy, she really sounds scared. She's a good little actress." And she runs up to the top of the cave, huffing and puffing, because we got some stairs to go up to get out of there. And I couldn't get her back in the cave. Another man who was tired, he had been walking around like a zombie soldier all night long, not saying anything, just walking. Was tired. He laid down on a passage to take a little rest, thinking that when the next tour came by, he'd just be a dead body they could pass by and he could still get his rest. He said that while he was lying there dead, closing his eyes, he probably even snored a little bit, somebody shook him on the shoulder and asked him, "Are you all right? Are you hurt?" And what was really remarkable was he said that it was no contractions, not, y'all or anything in there, no regional speech, but sort of formal sounding. And he said it was a young voice with no slang and couldn't figure out what the accent was. Didn't sound like it was from around here, And he looked up, and the young boy who was shaking his shoulder was somebody he could see through. At the end of that haunted cave tour, I had a little staff of paid staff members and volunteers huddled in a little group. It took me about 2 weeks to get anybody to go back down into the cave at all for any reason, which kind of makes it hard for you to do cave tours, So we actually had to get a support group. We got in touch with sensitive people who kind of talked the staff through their fears. Now, when I hire people for the museum and caverns, I check out all their qualifications and, make estimates of their ability to learn the geology of the cave speech and so on. And then I ask them how they feel about ghosts. I come in the morning and I check the gift shop because sometimes things that had been on a top shelf are placed very neatly on a bottom shelf when I get back in. In my cases where I'm selling rock specimens, sometimes very neatly I have boxes of rock specimens just stacked very neatly on top of each other. Whereas I know that when I left at night, they were all spread out to where you could see what was inside each box. We have a hospital bed with bloodstains on it. We used to have a blanket over it. And every morning when we would come in, the blanket would be messed up. We'd straighten it back out before we left in the evening, and we would come in the next morning, and it would be all rumpled again, like somebody had been sleeping on it. I don't remember how I met Carl. He showed up one day, but how did he say he heard about us? Like most people, he may believe that Civil War battlefields are good places to see ghosts.
It was all cold in a thin line right across this section right here. Nowhere else, just in this one corner. And like right now, it's not cold. Not at all. You don't want to have any doubts. You're not going to see anything if you have any doubts because your mind's going to block everything out.
You got certain people that's going to be afraid of what they're experiencing, what they're going to experience,
But others aren't.
Others aren't.
I'll admit, as much paranormal activity as I've seen before Chuck Brandon and I got together, I was scared. And when we first started out, inside I could feel that I was not really scared, and not even unnerved. I was
Being apprehensive, and worried and scared and nervous.
right.
It's just not a pleasant feeling.
It's not, but it's something that I think Brandon can verify, and Chuck, that it's a feeling that over time you learn to get accustomed to. So it's not the sense of fear; it's the sense of the unknown.
And I think a lot of people that don't believe in ghosts, a lot of it is, I think, they ain't experienced it. You know what I mean?
The way we look at it is, we're supposed to be here till dark, and at dark, they want the place, and it's time for us to go home. Most people find a very, very high percentage of apparitions on battlefields. So he may have been just sort of scouting out a locale. He had started up this group and they wanted to do an investigation. I don't remember why he said he picked us. But he showed up one day, and now he's just, he's a museum volunteer. He's in and out all the time. He's like a piece of our furniture.
Well, if you guys want to take a break while we get our stuff set up, this is the morgue. This is where we're going to make our base for the night.
I got one.
Where?
Oh, I used that right when you said you got up.
Sure that ain't. Yeah, it is. Is that me?
Tell me what the fuck I'm not looking at, man. Hey, there's the picture right there.
Is that me coming up?
That's you right there. And there it is, right over there on the right. See, because I can zoom in on it. Where'd you go? There you are.
Yep.
That's what you want to call an orb.
We're doing our investigation down in here, and I was actually standing right here, and we just came walking up this way to where we're at, and I was just like, well, we're just standing here just trying to get the feel of what's going on. So I took a series of just 3 photographs right down through there, and the first, you can actually see it got some red ectoplasm that came up on the camera, but actually you can see the stages of it. Like the first one really didn't have just one half of the camera was red with the ectoplasm, and half of it wasn't. As the second one came on, it was a full ectoplasm. The whole screen was red. Then the next one, just where you could almost see like it was just passing right through. The next one, the other half, and finally, actually, the last picture didn't have anything. It was just a clear shot right through here.
We've done, just power outs, no lights, no cameras, no nothing. You just sit for like 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever. You can hear footsteps on the bridge back here.
Yep.
And I mean, you can hear people walking around in the cave. And when it's 2 o'clock in the morning, you're the only people in here.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no question about any of that.
What about the idea of like fairies or leprechauns or
He's a fairy.
No, wait a minute.
Only on Friday.
No, wait a minute. Now think of Peter Pan. Think of Peter Pan's little friend Tinkerbell, right? And Tinkerbell is like usually depicted as like a little shiny little
Firefly.
Right.
That's a fairy.
That's a fairy supposed to be like a fairy. So I was wondering, maybe it's some other form of, it's not really a dead person at all. Maybe it's
That's why, it's just
some kind of
energy.
earth spirit, like that just naturally hangs out because that's where they're the spirit of the cave.
My
or part of the
personal
spirits of the cave or something
opinion of leprechauns, fairies is...
Hold the show a second. The ghost hunters didn't go for this idea, so I decided to find someone with a completely opposing point of view.
I think I first heard about orbs probably in a magazine article, but some friends went to Egypt and saw them in the king's chamber. I mean, they'd taken all kinds of pictures while they were there, and they'd been chanting, and they had great pictures of orbs, and those were the first I'd ever seen. And then I was in California with a group of astrologers, and we were studying together for 5 days, and in the evening we had downtime and we were drumming and singing, and all of a sudden someone came running up with this picture of the cabin and went, "Look, there's this huge, and it's not the moon, it looks like the moon," and I knew immediately that was an orb.
People say they thought they might be something like fairies or earth spirits. What do you think about that theory?
It has a good feel to it that resonates with me quite well because, again, it's another dimension.
Anyway,
Trees have souls, and they
these
have soul in
ideas
the
go
tree.
back way back.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
But I mean, see how it's
Right.
one
Yeah.
ball
Those are
right here, and then
questions
you've got
maybe-
that one's got a whole
You're
lot of
trying to
energy,
answer.
man. That
What you're
orb
saying
has
is that
got a
these
lot,
orbs are
and then you've got
the
1,
spirits of
2,
dead
3
No, I'm not. No, when I say it's a concentration
that I
of energy,
see
I think
tracing
it's
down
a
below it.
spirit reform
You see what I mean?
I did see an article recently where someone put some technology to it, and they had very good cameras and computers, and they enhanced the photo, and they found out that they were all mandalas.
by mandala, what do you mean?
Symmetry. They had amazing detailed symmetry, and each one, like our snowflakes, very different. And that impressed me. You know, so it isn't like a class of fairies, people, although, I don't know. You know, I
Right.
really don't know what they are. But it's interesting that they have beauty, symmetry, harmony.
We want this orb out of the house. What can you do?
We would have to look at them and honestly say, we do not rid houses of anything.
That's not our deal.
We
Right.
don't do, that's, we
Would
don't
you
do
say,
that.
would you say to them, we think you should not do this because you don't think it would be beneficial for you or the orb, or are you just,
Well,
are you against it in some way?
Well,
Against that? I
we
guess we're
are-
talking about exorcism.
Yeah, well, no, we are definitely against that. Okay?
Right.
Any kind of exorcism, no, we do not do. It's
Because-
just like I was telling you earlier.
But you're against it.
Yes, if we go in a place where, you know, the people, we investigate the house and they say they seen orbs, okay, or they got a spirit there, they don't want it there, we go in and try to figure out what's going on and try to communicate with them, like, what's, you know, what's going on, you know, talk to us. Is it something that, you know, why are you stuck in between the two worlds? You know what I mean?
Do these people have a reason to
Yes,
fear you?
right. And,
A lot of times you can get those answers through EVPs.
yeah,
Or basically by what happens during the night of the investigation. You can try to piece together the happenings
yeah.
to try to make a story out of what goes on. Or if you're lucky enough, they will tell you
Yeah.
through little spots on your EVPs
Right.
that you have to go back and piece together later to say, hey, he said like lost, home. He's lost, he wants to go home.
Yeah.
To go home with us.
And-
And all of us have had stuff happen at our house after
The
that.
situation I had was getting very out of hand. 'Cause
Yeah.
I kept coming to work and telling Carl about it. And my wife called me, we work night shift, and she called me about, well, I tell you, 1:30, 2
Yeah.
o'clock in the morning. And this is even after she experienced the cavern, you know, the taverns here, and she's starting to believe in it a little bit. Is, you know, she called me and she was scared to death. She says she actually was laying in the bed. And it's just like when she rolled over, it's like, you know how you first open your eyes? And when she first opened her eyes, she seen a woman, like in an Indian thing, sitting Indian style, with like a thing over her, real light. She could actually see her face and her dark black hair. And it scared her, and she jumped back in the bed. And I showed you the spot in the bedroom where we had the double door closets, and she actually faded away. Well, I had that one, and then I had the Civil War. Well, I was telling Carl I come out because I had a lot of stuff was happening. I mean, the door was being wide open, and I had the bolt locked. He seen the doors. I was waking up in the middle of the night, and the doors wide open. I came home one morning. The microwave was on 666. That there threw me for a loop. Yeah, and that
was the last straw.
That was the last straw.
The dustbuster would turn on by itself.
Yeah, the dustbuster would actually turn on by itself. We could be sitting in the living room. Me and Carl did the investigation of my house, and then with Carl, just not too long after that. And I actually asked one of them need to go.
So, did you say you invited one of these
Yes.
spirits?
I
And then there were two. Then there were two spirits.
The first one was the soldier, okay?
Okay.
And the Indian, me and Carl, remember we couldn't figure out where she came from. You know what I mean? Because I'd never seen her, but my wife did. And when she called me that night, she was actually scared to death.
All right, well, do that and then call me right back. Talk to you later, hon. Bye. Unreal. Unfucking real. I'll leave the snacks in the
Who was
car.
that?
Yeah, that was Rachel. She has been on, I would say, about 3 investigations with C&C, and you know, she hasn't committed herself to us yet because she has a lot going on in her life. But when she says she's going to try to make it to something, normally she shows up.
I'm Rachel. Carl's like really good friend. And
welcome.
like, what else do you want me to say? I probably look like an idiot now, but you know, I don't really care. So
Yeah, you look great.
thank you.
So why are you here?
For C&C Investigations, and you know, just see what we can get. And
Meaning?
I love, well, paranormal activity. Well, the only thing I have right now is like a digital camera, so whatever I can capture.
Are you excited?
And yeah, because this is actually the first real thing that I've been able to do. I haven't, with my kids and my schedule, I haven't been able to get out and do a whole lot. So if I get any activity going on tonight, I'm going to be kind of, hyped about it and a little antsy, but, really happy. I was just snapping pictures. They were wrestling. I'm randomly snapping pictures because we hadn't had the digital camera on. So I'm basically experimenting with that. And I start looking at these pictures and I'm like, I had known Carl a few months and we were talking about it and I was kind of, new with C&C, and then I started seeing these things and I'm like, wait a minute, those are orbs. So he's looked at them, and I'm looking at them, and we realized that's exactly what those were. So, it was just the ones in motion are like the coolest ones. And it's just, the more I saw of those, the more interested I become.
And where were the orbs?
They were mostly around my boyfriend. There are other pictures where there was one above his head, a little colored one, a pink one kind of in front of him, and then another one above that. So, but like I said, they were mostly in his chest and head area. So,
and were they bright or dim?
They were pretty bright to me. So, they're really pretty.
Do you have any explanation for why those orbs would be around him?
Like I said, other than his sisters passing away, my philosophy of it is that they were spirits. The irony of it is, I photographed everybody else in that house. I photographed the house with no one in it, daytime, nighttime. I even photographed, myself, daytime, nighttime, and nothing. Other than a few outside, but they were very faint. And, I just think it was him. I think it was linked to him. So
I'm just poking some pictures around, that's all. Whoa, water's dripping all over it. Gonna take a break outside again. We tried the whole, I'll go through my pictures.
Yep.
Every time we come up here, I always come up to the doors and the windows to look in to see if I can see either a shadow floating through, or like if you come up here and try to look through the door, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now can you see how they have the clothing hanging there inside right there?
Yes.
I try to see if, while I'm looking in there, if a ghost will go by, it'll blow it around or something like that. I always look for any type of movement when I come up here. But so far, nothing. So you got your camera, Rachel? Yeah.
Look at that. That's huge. And that's not magnified. It's big.
Where was it taken at?
Like right here.
Which way were you facing?
This way. Alright, like, where's the very first one? We caught by the flagpole. I mean, look at the size of that one.
Right.
And then, like, there's the other one we caught. And when we magnified those, they looked pretty big. I mean, this is the size of that, not magnified. Yep. That's big. Look at that. That's enormous. And I'm thinking that, I mean, I can't see from your angle. It looks like there's windows behind it. Because from that angle, you know what I'm saying? Or that left window, I'm thinking that's what's behind it.
I don't know. Wonder if that's a black ghost.
Hey, it could be. That's kind of what I thought. I'm thinking that, like, while we were going around. And as you went around to the side of the building, the thought went through my mind. I'm like, I'm wondering if I'm actually bringing that out. I swear to God. Like,
black spirits?
Like, yeah, like, black ghosts, slave spirits, or whatever. Because, I don't know. It's just the feeling I got. And it's strange that you said that. Maybe it's something that hasn't been here before. and they're like, hey, you know, this is new. I'm gonna follow it around.
Well, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So we got
He sees a
an
white
EVP,
Yeah.
pictures. Did we get a video? Earlier
What?
tonight we did. Earlier tonight we got an orb. Last night I
Actually, we
mean.
got two. Oh. We got,
So that's not bad. I was hoping for a lot more, like car would like get pushed down the stairs or something. Whoa, how much bell? There's Dane and Arnie.
It's 11:30.
Dane and Arnie, they're filming.
Our film crew.
C&C movie.
Huh?
You lead because you got the headlight on.
I know.
Just get into the rooms and then we'll stop so you can take pictures. What are you trying to say?
Trying to say you got a hard ass kid. God said let there be light. These caves are awesome. I don't give a shit if we don't get anything in them. They're beautiful.
See if we can get some EVPs while we're back here, BJ. You hear that one? She said it shines. She was talking about the cameras.
Bless you. That was bless.
I burped and she said, bless you.
Listen, real close.
Either bless you or excuse you, one of the two.
Number 2. Big sad visit woman.
The square. This one's for Maverick.
Oh my God, I love that one.
What is that?
That was from Creekside Manor, a scream.
Big sad visit woman.
There it is again.
Man, I get fat just hearing it all over again. Is anybody hearing it with us tonight? Can you give us a sign that you're down here with us? Can you tell us how you died?
You spitting.
Can you give us a sign that you're down here with us?
We need to go find a room and sit for a few minutes and let things calm down. Give me some break, please.
Hey, look, dude, there's another one. Right up in the corner.
Yep.
So far, I've got about 6 orbs. See, he's there now, right there on the very edge of that rock. Oh, wrong way.
Oh.
What happened? Okay, on the edge of the rock. Now he's up here. I'll zoom in on it.
Amazing.
Same one, 2 different spots. That's all right.
Guys, what are you doing?
Huh? We're setting up the camera,
Oh.
and while we're setting it up before I hit record, an orb flies right through the fucking video.
And we missed it.
Yes, and my ass stinks. My head.
Wait a minute. You were setting up the camera and you could see what was going on.
Yeah, through the screen.
Through the screen, the LCD.
So you got it on
Yeah,
tape.
come here.
You got it on tape.
No.
It wasn't recording.
Ah.
Come here, I'll show you what it did.
Okay, well, we were sitting here, me and Mav, I had my foot up here like this. We were sitting here trying to adjust the camera on the candle, And Maverick said, "Did you see that? Did you see that?" "No, I didn't see that." "Is it recording?" "No, it's not recording."
On this little corner of the screen here, at an oval, an orange orb went from here to here. Real fast, it's like, but I didn't have fucking record pushed.
Yeah, because wasn't the candle?
No,
Nah.
because the candle's up here, and the
Well,
orb
somebody
went
was
right
standing
down here by
there.
the corner. And it wasn't dust because we had been standing still for at least a minute. So they're in here.
God, that sucks, man.
We've had a lot of good luck here. One of our first investigations in the caves by ourselves. BJ has not joined by that time. We were in the caves and we were sitting in the morgue, which the ballroom / morgue. And we were getting taps on the shoulder, like it was from a little child. We knew that. They would tug on our pants leg, tap us on the shoulder, and even went as far as to throw pebbles at us. And this, you'll see when we get in there, which you probably have already seen in there. It is so black, you couldn't, with no lights on, you can't see where anybody's at to even throw a stone at them. But every single stone that was thrown hit us from the knees down. They never hit us above the knees. And then while we were sitting there after that, Brandon was going through his cameras, digital pictures, and I snapped a picture of him. Well, when the flash went off, in plain sight, without the cameras, you could see the face of a little girl or some type of girl. I don't know if she was little or adult, whatever, was looking over his shoulder, watching him go through his cameras. So that really freaked a lot of people out. It freaked this one guest out that we had so bad that he had to leave the caves. We would like to venture out further and, get some new places to go, but until, we really get things going, we can rely on Babs and the caverns and the battlefield here to keep our senses tuned on what we're doing. She's been gracious enough to let us use this as a training ground when we do get new people. So it's just an awesome place to be.
We're familiar with this place. I mean,
yeah.
This is like, we can go to sleep and be able to find our way out of here.
Exactly.
No problem. Nighttime, daytime. I now know where all the stumps are. First trip out here, kind of almost broke my ankle about 15 times, but you learn it. I mean, this is a really good spot, like Maverick said, to tune your senses basically and get a little bit more experience under your belt, a little bit more familiar with your equipment, so there's not questions on how to do stuff with a certain lighting and how to get the best picture out of your camera in certain situations,
Just like fishing or hunting. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't.
Yeah. Hey, bad day at ghost hunting is better than a good day at work.
You got that right.
I found it extreme, the feeling that you get when there's a presence around you is just a feeling that you can't get anywhere else. It's something that you acquire, as you get more experience. You actually, when you first go out, you really don't understand what to look for or what feelings to feel or anything like that. But now I've got it, to where I can actually tell when something's around me. And that feeling, though, is just, get it now. Well, you could be in the hot, 90-degree weather and, your hair starting to stand up, and it's weird. It like goes from the bottom of your spine up, and you just, I can't explain it.
So you actually like the feeling?
Yeah, it feels good. You all right, man?
Yeah.
What would be the ultimate thrill for you?
See a full body apparition with my eyes. That's the holy grail. What do you say?
And by what do you mean by that?
Sledgehammer.
What?
What do you mean by that? A full body?
Full body apparition, actually being able to see a full figure of a ghost with my eyes instead of a camera or some other type of equipment. Like to actually be able to see them for myself. I think that would be great.
So the equipment picks it up, but your eyes don't.
Right.
Usually.
Yeah, like usually. You can actually see them with your own eyes.
I've seen them with my own eyes a couple of times. Had that instance at the house
with the little boy.
With the little boy during my grandbaby's birthday party. I was standing like this watching Peabody open her presents, and I heard something tinkling around in the M&M's bowl, and I just went like this and peeked in here, and that's when I seen him. Now the kitchen table was sitting like this, and he was leaning over this end of the table with his hand in the M&M bowl, and then he was standing like this, and he looked back at me and smiled, closed up his hand, and I could see a little M&M hanging out of the bottom of his hand, which is how I know he had some. And he turned back, shot up into that corner, and just dispersed. I don't remember what he looked like other than he had really, really dark hair. Really short, dark hair. And it wasn't, tapered down like today's haircuts. It was just like straight across. His head came to about here, but I could only see from here down. From here down, it looked like it looked like I could only see from the waist up. And he was really like this, leaning over the table to reach to the M&M, so he couldn't have been that old. But from the waist down, it looked like it was a fog, but it looked like the dripping fog, like the mist that drips off you see in the horror movies. That's exactly what it looked like. But there were no lights around him. There was no glow. It was just like, I think there was like 12, 15 people in the house total. But they were all in there doing the gifts. There was nobody in here. Which I think is why he came in and started grabbing the candies. Because nobody was in here.
So he went into the, he just flew.
It wasn't fast. I mean, he looked, smiled, because, like I said, before the party I invited him because by this time Kathy had already told me her stories, and I wanted him to be comfortable here, so hopefully he would give me let me see him. And he did. When I invited him down, I got to see him. And he didn't like look at me smiling and go ding, up to the corner. He just went like he nonchalant, had his M&Ms, and then it's like when you're watching, like, you ever seen Battlestar Galactica? When they shoot the other ships in space, all the light balls from the explosion bouncing off that's what it looked like, a bunch of exploding light balls off of Battlestar Galactica. But they didn't bounce, they just went, and they all vanished as soon as they all separated. So it was like the energy was dispersing. And he did not drop any of the candies he had in his hand. How in the hell he got them, I don't know. Because I was told by an unreliable source that yes, they can take things over with them. But I, until then, never witnessed it. I just wish I could have documented it, but I couldn't because everything was in there, and I was afraid that if I was to get excited and run to do something, it would scare him. So all I could do was sit there and watch him. And I know that's just hearsay, but that's just what you got to go on if you had nothing available. And as anybody would tell you, even in this line of work, you're not going to carry a camera around 24/7. It's just not feasible. I knew he had been seen here from Kathy's story, so I wasn't even sure if he was still here. But I just said aloud, we're having a birthday party. You know, there's going to be treats down on the table. Come down and help yourself. And that's all I said. And apparently he really liked the different colors of the M&Ms. But we had M&Ms, potato chips, dip, cupcakes, ice cream, and he went for the M&Ms. I'm guessing, you know, the different colors, they were easy to get a hold of, you know, stuff like that. It was like they were needing it, like they were playing in it. You know, like, you know, just playing with them. And that's when he looked back and saw me, then he said, shh, and then up into the corner. And I was like so excited. I was like, oh my God. And then I got mad at myself because I wasn't prepared, but for something like this, you never prepared.
I smelled alcohol and tobacco a couple times, but I didn't know the Civil War soldier was here for months. He didn't tell me that he had said I brought one. I did not realize that if you just invited them home with you, they came home. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, so I didn't know. And then finally one day I said, I keep smelling alcohol and tobacco. One of the kids must be smoking and drinking in the house. And he said, no, I invited this soldier home and that's what you're smelling. And it went away. It didn't last long after that. Once I started smelling it, it was gone. It didn't last, a couple weeks and then it was gone. It didn't stay long after that.
Does he do this often?
Yes, all the time.
What?
Bring things home.
A lot of people are still afraid of ghosts, but you're not. Why is that?
I fear the living. I fear the living more than the dead because, you know, it's just fun. It's exciting. It's the unknown, you know. Try to find out more about it. That way you know what you're looking into when you go. I was in the shower. Nobody was home. I had this door closed and locked because I always lock the bathroom door when I'm in here. And the door swings open against the wall that hard. And the shower curtains just go. And there's nobody here. And I'm standing there like, and then I had to laugh. Now that did scare me a little bit, but just because I wasn't expecting it and it started, you don't expect it while you're in the shower, you know what I'm saying? So that once I thought about it, I was really excited. I was like, man, that was sweet loving.
Oh, the shower. Recently, as in like...
A couple months ago.
No, it was a couple weeks ago.
It was a couple weeks ago.
I went to get in the shower, and when you push the shower curtain back, there's nothing in our shower. I mean, there's not like, we don't store anything in there. I went to push the shower back, and it felt like I hit somebody. It felt like a person that I hit with my hand. So, of course, I screamed, ran out in the hallway, and thought, it's just my imagination. Go back in there, and there's nothing in the shower. I mean, it's empty. So I just go on about and get ready for work and didn't pay any mind.
So what did it feel like you hit?
A person, like someone in their stomach, like like if you would walk past someone and touch them in their stomach, that's what it felt like. I mean, it was a solid hit. It wasn't like, when the shower curtain stopped, my hand bounced back. If I were to believe in ghosts, I would think it was his mother. He swears his mom and dad are here. Once I heard a lady singing to my granddaughter, and I mean, it was definitely a lady's voice. And we think that might have been his mom. So I've never had any encounters with his dad where some of the other family members have. So I just assumed it was, if it was a ghost, that it was his mom.
Did that scare you?
Just for that split second, and then I just went, oh, here we go again, and went and finished getting ready. Maybe I'm not really convinced it's as bad as he says it is. I'm not really. I mean, I believe that spirits are here. I have no doubt the spirit of his mom and dad is here. And that plays a role in our decisions and how we raise our kids and our grandkids. But I don't think the ghosts are here. I think that's a totally different thing.
What? How is that? Why? What do you mean?
Well, because I feel that the spirit of the people that you love are in your heart, and that makes you make decisions, and you think about them when you make decisions. I mean, both my parents are living, but when I make a decision, I think about my parents and how that will affect them just automatically. So I believe that his parents are here doing that for him, but I don't really believe that their ghosts are here.
So you feel that ghosts and spirits are not the same thing?
Correct.
I'm not scared to die. I'm not scared of death. I'm scared of what's on the other side because you don't know what's on the other side. Fear of the unknown, which is why I think people don't accept ghosts, because they don't know anything about them. which is what I'm trying to do. Find out, you know.
Maybe they're just afraid.
Like when we go on these ghost hunts, we ask them how they die. If they died in that area. You know, stuff like that. Hoping we could get some evidence on EVP that we can understand while they're there. Now, 9 times out of 10, like the trip to Wings Box that I made, we're asking this girl, her name was Mary, but her nickname was Mamie, so we called her Mamie. And we asked her hundreds and hundreds of questions. And she would never answer the questions, but she would talk about other things. How the lights were shiny. You know, I would cough and she would say, bless you. I am a big Kiss fan. Paul Stanley is my idol, and he has a small red rose on his right arm. So I wanted for my first tattoo to be similar to his, but I wanted it different so people couldn't say I'm copying him. So I got the flower purple, and it came with the heart and a little drop of blood. And then my next one was an actual Paul Stanley I picked out of a magazine to make sure that nobody else would have the same tattoo as I have. And my third one is I'm a big Trans Am fan, and I've always wanted a GTA Trans Am ever since they came out in '87. And my beautiful, loving wife, for I don't remember which anniversary it was, but I got my maroon 88 Trans Am as somewhat of an anniversary gift. My big dream is to get the Kiss Alive 2 concert scene. When you open the album, it shows a concert of Kiss, and with the fire explosions and everybody up on their risers. That's the scene I wanted on my back to cover my whole back. And I'm probably looking at tens of thousands of dollars for that one. So it's like a distant memory now because I'm not paying that much to have a tattoo. Kissing Trans Ams and ghost hunting. That's all I ever wanted. All right, guys. Anybody here tonight?
Wind.
I don't have any recording equipment, so I can't hear you. I'm going to have to ask you guys to do something for me tonight. Can you... I don't know. Can you possibly say something or show yourselves tonight? You don't have to be afraid. Come on up here by the fire pit. Talk to us for a little bit. Doesn't have to be for long. It's too cold out here. BJ, you would not believe the feeling I had up there tonight. It got so bad we had to leave. Yes. Not a feeling of danger, but it was an uncertain feeling that without you guys there, I didn't want to be there. I mean, I could tell they were all standing right outside of view staring at us. And I was like, guys, I'm sorry, we've got to go. I was like, huh? Is this Chuck? Shit, I thought I called BJ. How'd that happen? Oh. Shit, but I was going to call you too. But, sorry, man. I was talking to Chuck thinking it was BJ the whole fucking time. I didn't feel threatened. Not in the least. But it was... I just felt nervous about being there. You know? Because... you just don't know. Even, you know, even the best ghost hunters don't know. I should have invited one of them home. Man, that would have been the bomb. Let's go bring one home. I'm sure I'll be sleeping out in the car then. BJ, you would not believe the atmosphere up there. Oh my God. I mean, we could only stay a couple minutes. I felt so uneasy. We had to leave. Yes. I'm talking major, major uneasy. You can feel them staring at you all around you. In the whole 3 years we've been doing this, I have never felt this way before about any place. Not even Creekside, where we were getting all the activity. I have never felt the feeling of this being this uneasy. So, it's awesome. But it just, I'm kind of sad because of the fact that you guys couldn't have been there to check, to experience it yourself. But like I was saying, I was excited because this was the first video of an orb we got on the premises to show you where it flies. It looks like he comes out of the candle and around, but it's really fast. What it's doing is it just circled around, and the candle just happened to be where it was. An orb just went right through there. Yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was it. I mean, that was all the excitement. Was just for that little orb. An orb just went right through there. Yes.
I saw that.
We went up to the Hupp's Hill and, I showed Babs that video of the orb we got and talked to them about what happened last night. One of those born-again Christians, right? Uh-huh. Well, they're fixing the caverns. They're working on the museum. He saw the back of your shirt, and he said, "That's devil work right there." And I was like, you know what? Don't fucking come to me with that dumb shit. We believe that if there's a job left undone, it needs to be finished so these people can rest in peace and not keep wandering around trying to figure out, I need to get this done, but I can't. So I need to keep trying. Some of them do want to be here. Some of them are just too hung up on either that certain place or a certain person that they don't want to leave them. Like my parents, for instance. They know they're gone, but they choose to be here to keep an eye on us, especially the grandbabies. My mom loves my grandbabies, and I think that's a lot of the reason that they come to visit me as often as they do, is to make sure the grandbabies are okay.
Are you talking about the orbs that you have the photos of that are right next to Peabody?
Yeah. Those and the fact that...
Can you describe that photograph? Or there's a couple of photographs. What are the photographs?
There's one really good one of Paris in the living room, kneeling on the floor by the couch, or sitting on the floor by the couch. And we took a picture of her, and right over her, or next to her almost, is a huge orb. And upon close inspection of the picture, it's not a dust orb. I can tell you that up front right now. It is not a dust orb. And a lot of people will argue that with me till the day I die. The personal experiences, like my wife hearing my mom singing to Paris when she was just a little infant. It's stuff like that. And the fact that there's been many a time, my dad used to be a mechanic. I would have to fix something on this car, and I can't do it. I'm out here for like 4 to 6 hours trying to fix a certain part, and I go inside frustrated and ticked off, and I come outside and the job is done. The furthest out of state I've been, where I've been old enough to realize it, was Myrtle Beach. I haven't even been to Tennessee, and that's where Kathy's parents or family is from.
Oh, really?
I'd like to go to Tennessee because they're supposed to have the best bass fishing on the East Coast. I have cystic fibrosis, and then I have cystic fibrosis onslaught of diabetes, which I got in 2000. I've had CF since I was born. And from what the doctors say is I shouldn't even be alive right now.
Wow.
So that's another reason why I like doing the ghost hunting, is because I'm not going to live much longer unless I go in and have a lung transplant, which is what I'm looking for. I'm in the process of doing the research and all that stuff on it. So that was why I started this, was to help me get better aware of what's coming soon. So
I had no idea.
well, that's why, I said I'm not afraid to die. I'm not worried about it. I know that when I do die, my parents are going to be there to help me through it. So, why worry about it? I just fear the unknown. Which is why I'm coughing all the time. Yeah, my lungs are pretty much totally shot. They're all scarred up. If that's the price you got to pay to watch your grandbabies grow up, then I'm willing to take it. And I think my parents would want me to. Because those girls think I'm all there is.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get out here and I'll show you where I work. This is New Rubbermaid, my full-time job. I work 6 at night to 6 in the morning. We make trash cans in the brute cell, toolboxes, mop buckets, mop bringers. We make all kinds of things.
So I returned from Virginia, and shortly after recorded this clip with Brett Carr, an actor in my film Halloweenies. I'm sitting in the chair directing him while he reads lines for a scene requiring dubbing, and my colleague Arnold Chambers is filming.
Much. Right? Like that?
Yeah, better, but keep doing that a couple more times.
Now this shouldn't hurt. Much.
Kind of draw it out, and take your time with the line. This shouldn't,
Now this shouldn't hurt. Much.
Notice the orange lights just in front of me. I'll show you the clip again.
Now this shouldn't hurt. Much.
Kind of draw it out, and take your time with the line. This shouldn't,
Now this shouldn't hurt. Much. Is that too fast?
Once more in slow motion. The entity slips across in front of me and starts its light show, which only the camera sees. We are clueless. These are not special effects or reflections. An apparent disturbance under my raised arm, then a quick orange blip, and it's gone. Orbs at Hupp's Hill. More orbs at Hupp's Hill. Another orb, close up. Another couple of orbs, another close up, you could see the structure. Ectoplasm at Hupp's Hill. This almost looks like a face, maybe. You have to use your imagination a little bit on that one. One of the most chilling photographs. Some people think it looks like a skull, maybe a screaming skull made out of weird, mist-like, strange form. That circular looks like an eye right there on the top, maybe. Hupp's Hill Museum. You notice upper right-hand corner, there's an orb in that different shot, later shot. Notice the orb, a crystal cavern just to the left of the stairs. Now this one, you see the orb, the ghost hunters were down below, they felt something. I was there too, we all took photos, and yes, apparently something was there. They seem to like old places.
Huh.
They seem to be attracted to that.
Yeah. Actually, where I was an old place. It
Yeah,
was developed,
and also
yeah.
what they would call sacred places.
Yeah, yeah.
Like cemeteries and theaters, churches.
Where humans put out amazing emotion.
Prehistoric earthworks,
Yeah.
this type of thing.
Yeah, our emotional resonance lingers in places. You can feel it. You've had a fight in a room. That room has that feeling for who knows how long. long. You make love
Battlefields.
yeah, battlefields. We can heal this stuff, and that's the beauty. We can go back now and heal past and future through love. We can do it.
Christmas at Carl's. And again, you see the same round little thing with the little knob or eye. Almost looks like it's looking down at the board game she's playing. This may be from a different Christmas. There again, you see the same thing looking down at her. The same mysterious little object. On digital photos inside a house I was building, I discovered similar objects. I went to a professional. Could you look at them and tell me what you think they could be?
Well, my first thought was that it's something on the capture sensor itself, which is very common in digital imaging. I have to get my sensors cleaned around at least once every year or two. But these are so different in size and shape and different in location, and some of them nearly perfectly round. That's not the way that sort of digital mark on a sensor ever looks. So that leaves me a bit thinking that's probably not it. It could have possibly been something on a lens, but then it wouldn't be as perfectly round and sharp as this one is on this one particularly. And then that same concentric circle shape is on this one much fainter and in a different complete relationship to the print than this one, so that means it's not in the same place on the sensor or the lens. And then this one has several of them, two of them kind of floating, touching each other, one over top of the other, and you can still see right through them transparently. And over by the guys doing the drywall, there's a whole bunch of less sharp but still fairly round, just a whole grouping of them over on the gray wall there. And there's more than 24 of them in that shot, which made me think maybe that was from them kicking up dust as they're working. But then the shot here in the attic has another very, very round one, not perfectly round, but quite round, and again kind of descending concentric circles, and again in a different spot than some of these other shots. So I don't have any real for sure it is this or it is that explanation from anything I'm looking at here, and I doubt even if we get into the little aim and shoot camera we'd get a real definitive answer from that either. So you'd have to take them to more of a scientist than I. You know, I've worked in photography all my life and digital for about the last 13 years, but even in my copy and restoration business here, which we do a great deal of, I don't run into things like this that I fix on a regular basis, or that I send to my technicians to have special digital artwork done to correct something that looks like this. I've really not seen it before.
I think that you've got people caught between the worlds, and these are the spirits that are still hanging around. When I talk about passing on, I mean they move on to their final reward, which to me is, of course, without time, without place. It's another dimension of pure energy.
Okay.
Okay?
And
Now, these people that are still hanging around aren't totally in our plane of existence. It's like they've got a foot in here. There was one guy in our support group that said that a ghost actually asked him if he was a ghost. And he said, "No, you're the ghost. You're the dead one." And the ghost said, "Well, I'll be damned." He didn't know he was dead. But doesn't that raise a question to you? If we see them in a kind of hazy way, maybe they see us in a hazy way? They've got a foot in our plane. The door opens up or whatever. And we may be as insubstantial to them as they are to us.
Because nobody knows what's on the other side of life. So with investigating these things, I'm hoping to get a better understanding of what we're looking at when we do pass over. You know, so.